This is the Sideline Slice, presented by Valentino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Huskers. Here's your host, Jessica Coody, and Husker Radio Network analyst, Jeremiah Sirles.
Welcome back into another episode of the Sideline Slice with Jeremiah Sirles. I'm Jessica Coody, and Nebraska back in the win column, and we really like doing this podcast a little bit more when we've got wins to talk about, Sirles.
It's so much more fun. I mean, it's so much more fun to watch the tape and go, oh, yeah, we can fix that, or, man, that needs to get corrected, or, oh, that was really good. But then at the end of the game, you can go, that's a win, right? Because, I mean, I'll tell you, as a player, when you can go in and you can say, hey, we won the game, but here are the things we need to clean up, it's so much better than when you come in and go, well, didn't do enough to win. What do we have to do more to get W's? Like, it's just a totally different mindset shift from a player and a coach's perspective when you can come in, make the corrections after a win and not a loss.
Hey, what about the fan perspective now that you have experienced all of it and now you're on the outside? You know, I've thought a lot about this, and this has been a program that, hey, we haven't always had a bunch of wins, but I know, like, at this point we should probably be glad that we're finding ways to win, but then how do you balance, okay, it's a win. It wasn't pretty, but it was a win, and we should be glad about that. At what point maybe are you just okay with that, or you think, okay, there's ways we have to be better?
Coming from a pragmatic point of view, I am more on the camp of I just want to continue to see marked improvement from this football team from year in to year out under the Matt Rule era. I know from playing here and from living here that that's never going to be okay with the fan base. It's part of what I love about this fan base. High expectations. They've loved the win. They love to know that we were at one point in time the pride of all of college football. And obviously that's where we all want to get back to. Right? Everybody would love to get back to where we're winning Big Ten titles and we're winning national championships and we're going to the playoffs. That's great. I don't know if we're there yet. We're well on our way. But I think from a fan's perspective, just be able to rest and lay your head down at night going, hey, we are on the right path. Right? We've corrected so much from even the last half of last year. We're finding ways to get the ball into the end zone. We're finding ways to create turnovers. We're winning the special teams. Like, there's so much to be excited about. Let's not let us as fans, our expectations and our goals of where we want this program to always be get in the way of the journey. Let's enjoy the journey. The journey's fun. Like, watching this team get better and better from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 of the Matt Rule era has been super fun. Let's enjoy the journey, and then that'll make the destination even that much more sweet.
Yeah, and Coach Rule brought this up, and I've thought this too. Look, there were times on the sideline that when things were not looking very good and were not going their way, that, hey, in the past they wouldn't have fought through that and, you know, found ways to make plays to win this game. And so I think the way that they closed the game and how things were in the fourth quarter, outside the last drive, which even Coach Rule talked about, this defense wasn't happy that they gave up that last touchdown, but there were lots of positives in the fourth quarter that I feel like we can point to, and okay, they got some things figured out and they found a way to win this football game.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest point of it comes down to that 3rd and 10 and that 46-yard throw to Ja'Cory Barney. I mean, if we don't convert that third down and our defense has been tired, they've been out on the field a long time, we go incomplete, and we're staring 3rd and 10 in the face. If Dylan doesn't improvise, get out of the pocket, roll there to his right, and hit Barney on the sideline there, we're in trouble. Right? But sometimes when you have a team that's sputtering, especially offensively, all it takes is one spark. Boom. And then you're right back on track. And that's what I love about this offense specifically, is just how much they can just kind of seem to weather the storm, but always be able to answer the bell. And that's what you saw in the fourth quarter of this Michigan State game, was things couldn't have gone worse in the third quarter. I mean, we couldn't run the football. We throw the interception, bad things. But then you just see, okay, one spark to Barney, and now everything starts clicking again. And then you get the big run to Emmett. So it's just about continuing to play the next play. And you hear Matt Rule talk about that all the time. It's just, hey, block out the noise, focus on the next play. Much easier said than done. But when that just becomes part of the habits, becomes part of the culture, and becomes part of the DNA of this team, eventually things are going to turn around unless you just spiral yourself down the toilet, which we've seemed to do year in and year out. But it's nice to see us getting away from that.
All right, we're going to talk about the offensive line, of course. But before we get to that, I did, because we have a tendency, we go down a rabbit hole, and the next thing you know, it's been 30 minutes, and we haven't talked about anything other than the offensive line. But Emmett Johnson, 3 touchdowns. He's one of the top in the Big Ten. I feel like, going back and watching highlights, because I don't always see it on the sideline, but I feel like his vision's been really impressive, how he can, and just the pacing and timing. I don't know if that makes sense of his runs. What have you seen in him, and what makes him even better, I guess, this season than what we've even seen in the past? Because you've been a fan of him for a while, but what's different about him this season?
Yeah, so I remember talking about on this show in week 1 about how he needed to press the hole more before the cutback and get to the heels of the offensive lineman before making the cut. And he's continued to do that more and more. And I think a lot of that is the fact he's gaining more trust, specifically with the interior 3 of our offensive line. With Rocco, with Justin, with Henry, he is trusting that on the inside run plays that are being called, he knows where those 3 guys are going to be. He knows where they're going to push. He knows when they're going to come off on the linebacker because of the timing and the reps that they've gotten, not at practice, but in real games. And he's able to truly push, and then make that cut. Or push, and see that they got the edge sealed and then push it out the front side. I just think he's starting to develop more of a rhythm and a timing with the interior of that offensive line. And with that, he's also running really hard. Like, he's putting his shoulders down, and he's not the biggest back in the world, but he is not shying away from contact. He's making sure those safeties that are filling the hole are going to feel it when he's running. He's falling forward. He's just becoming more and more a complete back every single game in front of our eyes. And then he also has great hands. He catches the ball really well out of the backfield. He can make guys miss in space. He's just becoming an NFL caliber back for the Huskers, which is fantastic to see, because we haven't had one of those since really Divino Zigbo.
How about the run defense? Coach Roll pointed to them and thought it was much improved. It was better. It was an area that they knew that they had to be better. What did you see in those guys that was enabled them to be better against Michigan State?
Yeah, I think some guys had their best games as a Husker, including Elijah Judy. I think Elijah Judy had the best game I've ever watched him play, as far from a disruption standpoint, as far as from a getting off blocks, from penetration, from making better tackles. And Van Poppel's another guy that played better. But the big thing for me was the non-hesitation from Javen Wright and Shavers. In the Michigan game, you kind of could feel them trying to feel out, like, where's the perfect gap to shoot? Should I stay back? Should I shoot the gap? What should I do? There was just a little bit of indecision from those 2 interior linebackers. When you put the tape on against Michigan State, those dudes are truly just read and react and go. It looked like Bullock. Right, Bullock last year was fantastic with his instincts, right? He felt the gap, he'd shoot the gap, TFL. And in order to stop the run, your linebackers have to be very aggressive. And I felt like Javen Wright and Shavers were very aggressive. They felt the feel of the defensive linemen holding up their blocks, one not letting free runners climb up to them, and those 2 dudes lived in the backfield. I mean, we had 12 and a half TFLs. That's fantastic. Like, those are TFLs over the course of 2-3 games sometimes. And so to have 12 and a half TFLs, and I believe Javen Wright had 3 and a half of those. I think Shavers had 2. Fantastic linebacker play from those 2 guys, and we're going to need that going forward.
I agree. And Vincent Shavers is so fun to watch. I told Coach Roll that on the TV show. He flies around, and then just his energy is infectious. He's a star in the making.
Absolutely. I think he's a guy that his instincts are just going to continue to get better and better. He's very physical. And, we talked about last week getting off of blocks, using our hands, not letting guys go. I felt like this week was his best week of creating separation from offensive linemen, keeping his head in his proper leverage, and then again, just being aggressive and shooting the block before those offensive linemen can get on him.
Okay, let's dive into it. We saw some switching around of the tackles. Gunnar Gatula made the start at right tackle, Elijah Pritchett at left tackle. Again, coming off the game where they got a lot of flack against Michigan. How did you feel like that unit played? I know they still gave up 5 sacks, but what do you think of that group and overall from start to finish with how the O-line performed?
Yeah, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. 5 sacks is too many. It doesn't matter who's it on. Is it on the quarterback? Is it on the running backs? Is it on the Huskers offensive line? It doesn't matter. You can't give up 12 sacks in 2 games. Like, and no one in that O-line room is going to say, yeah, it was okay, we won the game, but you cannot give up 5 sacks. And so whether that means that we need to start mirroring up our pass sets with the drop back scheme better, or we need to just shore up our technique and our fundamentals, we just have to find a way to keep Dylan more clean. Because I've watched this movie too many times, whether it's the NFL or whether it's college football. If you let a quarterback continue to take these hits throughout a season, it wears on them as you hit November, right? Those dudes are not built like Emmett. They're not built to take the beating. Right? They're built to stand back there, deliver the ball, and then do some cool celebration when it gets completed. They're not meant to be picking grass and beads out of their helmet every single play. Their bodies just aren't calloused like that. And so regardless of how we have to get it fixed, I felt overall the unit played better than they did against Michigan as far as being able to generate push, generate holes. But we opened Pandora's box against Michigan with twists and stunts and blitzes. And we closed it a little bit against Michigan State. Not enough. But when you open Pandora's box like we did against Michigan, where we say, hey, we struggle to pick up these certain things, we struggle to pick up this blitz protection, we're going to continue to get tested at that position because there's blood in the water. And the only way defensive coordinators are going to stop testing us at that position is to slam the door shut on a lot of those things. And so I would be very shocked of a Maryland team that I believe leads the Big Ten in sacks is not going to test this offensive line early and often in pass protection.
So we were texting about that after the game. We kind of dove into it last week about are there things on film from Michigan that now teams can take advantage of? I think you alluded to the fact that Michigan State did. So now that if teams are going to keep trying to do that, what do you do to make them stop that you just talked about?
You have to hit them. You got to pick up blitzes and make them pay for blitzing. That's the biggest thing. How do you stop a blitz? You make a defender scared, a D coordinator scared to send the blitz because the offensive line is going to identify it. They're going to pick it up. The running back's going to pick up the extra guy. Now you got man coverage down the field, and you got to hit a couple big plays down the field. So they go, okay, this single high safety that we're playing, they're carving us up. They're beating us up on the blitz. We got to get back to this too high look, which then just takes a little bit of pressure off the O-line and the running backs to say, okay, they're only rushing 4. People got to win their one-on-one matchups. When we can take advantage of double team guys, we got to take advantage of double team guys. But it's really about just the front 5 holding up against the 4 and 5 man rushes that are coming. You can start doing that. You're going to make defenses really start to back off. But if they keep feeling like, hey, we're close to getting home, it wasn't a sack, but it was a hit, or it was a hurry, or we got Dylan off of his spot, they're just going to continue to keep sending pressure our way until we can make them pay for it in the back end.
Okay, and this might sound like a dumb question, but if Gunnar Gatula, for example, even though they cross-train in practice, again, game's different, but when he moved from left to right, is it different? You know, like, will he now be better after having a game on the right side of recognizing some of those things that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think not only will he be better, but a lot of it is just continuity between your guard and your tackle, right? If you're running line games, right, there's really 3 different types, but we'll focus on 2 different types of line games here. There's a TE and an ET, right? And so the TE is the tackle, the defensive tackle. It's lined up over the guard. He likes to charge the B gap right at the tackle's inside hip to try and pick the tackle and then allow that defensive end to loop around and come screaming up the A gap if the guard and tackle get creased, right? Okay, and then there's the ET, which is the end takes 2 steps up the field, runs down and ear holes the guard, and then the defensive tackle can loop around for contain to try and go get the sack. And what needs to happen is you have to get this feeling and this continuity working next to each other as a guard and tackle that, hey, in and in, out, 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 and you can pass those things off without getting creased. And you can practice it all you want until it's real life bullets. That's when you really grow and learn together, because all it takes is you to let your guard get absolutely ear holed 1 or 2 times for your guard to look at you and be like, buddy, you do that again, I'm going to kill you. Right? Like, enough. Yes, gotcha, right? Or your guard gets creased and your tackle gets put in no man's land and you're trying to block two and then you don't block anyone. You're like, come on, man, you got to flatten the penetrate. You got to punch that guy. You're right. I got to punch that guy. I got to flatten him. And I know you're going to be there to pick it up. It's just a trust and comfortability factor that you can't really mimic unless it's in real life games. So the more that Gunner and Rocco can grow together, the more that Elijah and Henry can grow together. The interior three, the more they can communicate and go, hey, that Mike linebacker's over there. If they want to run type up once of, hey, we're going to send the Mike and loop the D. Like, it's just all trust, feel, and comfortability with that group up five of picking that type of stuff up.
Which only takes time.
Time and reps, right?
Yeah.
Time and reps, which in this part of the season, not going to get a lot of those during the week, right? I mean, that's what training camp's for. That's what spring ball's for. At this point, you have to be able to adapt and grow in real time, and that real time is on Saturdays.
Valentino's, a slice of home you just can't get anywhere else. What started with a treasured family recipe has become a Nebraska tradition for over 68 years. Proud to be the official pizza of the Huskers. I know this is also something that we've talked about on this podcast before, but I think it's pretty evident, and a lot of people have pointed out that it seems like our offensive line is more comfortable run blocking than pass protecting. Why is that? And how can you get better and even things out where you're good at both, I guess?
Pass blocking sucks. I mean, there's really no way around it. It's the hardest job to do as an offensive lineman. Think about it. It's so unnatural. It's a completely unnatural feeling and body position to go, hey, that dude over there, 6'4", 260 pounds, probably runs somewhere between a 4.6 and a 4.7, 6'6", 315 pounds. Why don't I just go backwards and try and stop him running full speed? But I can't lean. And I can't lunge. Oh, and I can't turn, and I got to throw my hands and stop him without leaning. It's a very hard movement to master. And as the defensive ends and the D tackles start getting faster and bigger, faster, stronger, it's just harder and harder to do. And so I would say that every single offensive lineman is more comfortable run blocking than they are pass blocking, besides some of the greats, right? Lane Johnson, Trent Williams, I mean, name a few. But what you need to do is you need to be more comfortable pass protecting in critical situations, right? When you know, hey, it's 3rd and 8, got to have it, got to be comfortable there. Where you don't become comfortable pass protecting is when you fall behind and those dudes can just pin their ears back and not have to respect the run game. So what you need to do is just become more balanced, right? The best way to be a better balanced offense is be able to run the football. Because that way the defensive ends aren't just pinning their ears back and going, hey, I'm just rushing the passer. They're worried about, is this outside zone? Is this inside zone? Is someone coming back to crack block me? And all that takes is maybe half a second of them realizing that. Well, that half a second is the difference between 2.5 seconds and 3 seconds. The ball should be gone in 2.5, 3 seconds. So you're just trying to buy yourself more time. But it ultimately just comes down to you have to be super detailed in your work. You got to be super detailed in your set, in your hand placement, in your leverage position, where your weight is. It's just a lot to deal with. And so if you can limit your chance of having to pass the football, especially in 3rd and long, 2nd and long, which are 2-minute situations, you're just going to have more success as an offensive lineman all the way around.
Well, if you follow Sirles on social media or X, Twitter for Sirles, because he still calls it Twitter. You have put out a tweet. You are not a fan of Pro Football Focus. And get just maybe some of the things that with your offensive linemen in the NFL. But I know that that's something that fans get to point to and maybe latch onto of some of that knowledge and that breakdown. And I think that they had a couple of the sacks on Dylan, which you just kind of talked about. Do you agree with that? And if so, are there ways that Dylan could be better in that regard if the sacks are not always on the offensive line? What are ways that he can be better in trying to not take a sack?
Yeah, so I would give 1.5 of the sacks to Dylan, right? Watching the tape, one of them for sure, and he even knew it, right? He stood up, he patted his chest, he held on to the football too long. There has to be a little inside clock in Dylan's head that goes 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, that ball's got to go. Right. And maybe it's not go to where I want it to go. It's got to go somewhere, whether in the dirt, it's got to go over the head of a receiver, give it a guy a chance, low in the outside, away from the defender. But Dylan, I think, sometimes gets himself into, I got to make the play. I got to get the perfect play instead of let's live to fight another day. And he'll sometimes hold on to that ball and go, I need one more window, one more window, one more window. Or that one more window is maybe half a second or a second away, and the world's closing in around him, right? Everything's coming down underneath. Everything's coming in around him. So he just has to have that internal clock. And he's still a young player. He's still learning that. I mean, young players in the NFL struggle with that because the clock gets even shorter once you hit the NFL. But no, the offensive line also, and I kind of alluded to this, and this might be getting in the weeds a little bit, you have to, as an offensive lineman, change your set predicated based off of it's a 3, 5, or 7-step drop. And so, for example, if it's a 3-step drop, right, your slants, your hitches, your hooks, your quick passing game, you want to be more aggressive in your set. You want to go get on that guy, get his hands down, stop him at the line of scrimmage so that Dylan has his passing lanes. If it's a 5-step drop, you want to take, that's your money set. Right? That's your set where, hey, I got a set on this angle. I know that where Dylan's going to be set up. I know where the junction point is that I'm going to meet that defender and be ready to fight when I get to my second kick or my third kick or whatever it might be, and be ready to go. And then your 7-step drops are the hold on to your butts. Right? Hey, gotta go. This is going to take a long freaking time. Set this dude however I need to set him to win, but knowing that I'm going to have to stay on him longer. And marrying your sets based off the number of steps in the drop is where you start to have more continuity between offensive line and quarterback to not take those sacks. Because if you're taking a 3-step, if you're taking a 7-step drop, but you're using your 3-step drop set, it's not going to be like he's going to edge you at one point. He's going to turn the corner. Same thing. You're taking a 7-step drop set with a 3-step drop passing tree. Well, now that guy's going to be there. Maybe he jumps up, he knocks the ball down. So it all is in combination of working together, whether it's play action or down the field passing. You all have to be on the same page of what set am I using? How long's the quarterback holding onto the ball? What's the drop step? Where's the routes? And that's where you just become more and more of a better football player, the more that you can understand play in and play out the bigger picture, not just, oh, guy in front of me, block guy in front of me, right? You want to be able to see the bigger picture so that you can become the better football player.
Yeah, makes sense. And do you know how many, which step, the 5-step, 3 steps is based on the play call?
I would, yeah. Like, so when I would play, I mean, now in college I didn't, right? Because in college we had the check with me, look at the sideline, and it was to lock, squire, or whatever it was. Like, I didn't know about if that was 5, 6, 7, or whatever it was. But as I got into the NFL, I started to learn, okay, this is a 3-step route, or they'd have protection tags, right? Hey, 2 jet was 5-step. 200 jet was 3-step. 200 jet max was 7-step, right? So you would know, okay, they're telling me how long, so I don't have to know the routes. I don't have to listen to X sail, Z cross, Y pivot, or whatever it might be. They would just tell us in the protection of, hey, this is 3, 5, or 7. And so I don't know what Dana Holgerson's scheme is. I don't know any of that. I just know that once we learned that as an offensive line and we really put a focus on that, our sack numbers went down, our hit numbers went down, our hurry numbers went down because we were setting properly to help the quarterback have the most success that he needed.
Fascinating. All right, before we really dive into Maryland, how about those special teams on Mike Eckler's birthday?
Coach Eckler is the MVP of this Husker football team right now. You can't tell me otherwise. I mean, kicks are going, punts are going. You getting
punt returns are going.
You're getting luck on special teams now, which we haven't had in a decade. Right? I mean, to have a kick into the wind, it hits that wind wall, falls right down where you want it to hit. They fumble, we recover. You create your own luck on special teams. And that's by doing everything right, detail-oriented, making sure there. I mean, Barney will have a punt return for a touchdown by the time the year is said and done, or teams are just going to stop punting it to him. They're going to punt it out of bounds. They're going to be scared. They're going to have something going on. You're going to block punts. Our special teams is a weapon. And when your special teams can dominate a phase of the game, not just contribute, but dominate, you're going to give yourself a really good chance to win games. And Coach Eckler has done such a good job. I cannot give enough praise to Coach Eckler for what he's been able to do and come and turn the special teams unit around in 1 year.
I love, too, that even they've been really, really good, and it's still they're not satisfied either. You know, Carter Nelson said, I don't care that I scored the touchdown. I'm mad that I had the block that called
Blocking back, yeah.
Jacory's touchdown back. You know, the way that they come right over and dive into the iPads. I mean, there's just a sense of pride and just the details that it's even as good as they've been. It's scary that I really think they're going to be even better.
Yeah, in special teams, it's not sexy. It's not fun. Like no one's calling out the gunner or the L4 on kickoff because we won the football game. But when you take the pride in your game and you take the role of, hey, I'm a special teamer on this team right now, and I get to contribute every single Saturday, and whatever my role might be, I'm going to be the best dang person in that role that I can be. That's when you see elite special teams. I've been on teams, especially in the NFL, where guys are like, I have to play special teams. Right? Like, oh, I'm on punt or I'm on kickoff return. I should be the starting safety or I should be tight end 2 or whatever it might be. And they almost see it as a detriment to them as a player of, oh man, you're just a special teamer. There's none of that on this Husker team. Everyone that takes the field on that special teams unit has a sense of, we're here to dominate, we're here to contribute, we're here to make differences in this game. And you see that, and that is infectious. And when that's infectious and you get 11 guys playing like that on all 4 core special teams, woo, you're going to win a lot of games.
Great stuff. All right, so let's quickly dive into Maryland. You talked about it earlier. They lead the Big Ten, 4th in the country in team sacks. What's kind of going to be the key, I guess, for this offensive line to try to prevent the sack trend from happening here this Saturday against a team that obviously does it pretty well?
Well, yeah, here's the thing. I don't think Maryland's a great defense by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they have really good players. Like, and it's weird when you kind of watch games, you watch that Washington game, you're watching guys pop here and there in a big TFL and then a sack or an interception. But overall, it kind of looks like you're kind of got leaks in the dam here all over the place, but it's 1 or 2 guys making big plays every now and then. So if I'm looking at this and I'm game planning this Maryland team, my job is going to be frustrate the pass rushers. And the way you frustrate the pass rushers is screens. You frustrate them with the quick passing game so that they don't feel like they can ever get to the quarterback. And I'm not talking about like quick passing game. So I'm talking like 1-step drop ball out, right? Like the quick slant to the slot, that's catch the ball and throw it, or the quick bubble screen, just because those pass rushers, they're going to get annoyed if they keep rushing. Like, man, why am I even rushing? I'm not even getting home. Like, I'm not even getting a chance to put a move on a guy, or maybe he beats a guy clean, but the ball's already gone. Those dudes continually do that. They get frustrated, and then all it takes is for them to be like, oh, here we go, quick game again. Oh, shoot, it's the 7-step drop. And now you've caught them. So you've got to start the game, if you're going to throw the football, with really frustrating them and not allowing them to pin their ears back and go. But also, you got to beat them up in the run game. You can beat up pass rushers. Guys that want to rush the passer, which is every defensive lineman ever known to man. If you just beat them up in the run game and you double team them and you wear on them and you wear on them and you wear on them, they're nowhere near as fresh when it comes to third down. Or they're nowhere near as fresh when it comes to 2 minutes at the end of the game. And you got to have it moments. You got to go down and win. Well, look at the Kansas City game last night, right? Jacksonville just kept wearing on Chris Jones. It kept wearing on Karlaftis, and bang, bang, bang. Then you get down to the end of the game. Trevor Lawrence falls all over himself and he's running the end zone. And Chris Jones is so gassed, he can't even check. He can't even chase him. Like, you can wear defensive linemen down over the course of 60 minutes. And that's what we have to do to slow down this pass rushing front that wants to get after you, is we got to just physically beat them up throughout the whole course of the game.
All right, offensively, not a team that I think last week they had 55 rushing yards, way more passing attempts. Seems like it's a team that is going to want to throw the football, which, again, number 1 pass defense in the country. What do you expect them to just stick with it and try to challenge our secondary? How do you see that matchup playing out?
You know, I think they're going to test us up front early, just based off of what you've seen on tape from the Michigan game and the Michigan State game. Of there is a little bit of concern of our run stopping ability with our front. So I think you're going to see them try and run the football early. But again, it's not the strength of their team. Their offensive line is not the strength of their offense. They want to throw the football. And so I think they're going to do, hey, it's about us, not about them. We're really good at throwing the football. That's kind of what we like to do. So we're going to come out and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get the ball into the receiver's hands early. We're going to see if this Nebraska defense can tackle in space, which they struggled to do against Michigan, and at times struggled to do against Michigan State. I thought our tackling was a lot better this week. but it still leaves some more to be desired. And so if I'm Maryland, I'm going to try and scheme ways up to get balls into my receivers' hands quickly and see if guys like Singleton and Wright and, Sierra can go and make those tackles in space, McCullough. And if they can do that, then I think we'll put this offense in a big conundrum going forward.
All right. So what are your keys for this one, for a Husker victory?
Handle the travel. Handle the travel out east, right? I mean, it's the very long road trip to Maryland. You're not going to Iowa. You're not going to Kansas. This is a long road trip, so handle it correctly. Recover right, eat right, rest right. Like this isn't a fun trip. This is a business trip. So handle the travel correctly. Do what you need to do on that end so that doesn't become a problem or a detriment. And then also handle the environment early. I don't think it's going to be crazy wild. You're going to play in more, but you have to be able to weather the storm on both offense and defense early in the game and not let it spiral quickly, which Michigan State I don't think did very well this week. Right? They came in and we go down the field, score, we get a pump blocked, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh my gosh, this house is on fire. What are we going to do? Weather the storm, handle everything correctly, and then the biggest thing is just keep taking care of the football. Keep taking care of the football. Make sure we're not throwing bad interceptions. Can't fumble the ball on the road. Biggest problem on why road teams lose is because of turnovers. So we just have to make sure we continue to take care of the football and then try and take the ball away.
Which has been so far vastly improved this season.
I think we're +5, right? +5 in the turnover margin, which I would take that any day of the week based off of what we've been. I mean, we've been like -12 at one point, I think, at this point in the year, a few years back.
Yeah, we're protecting it and we're taking it away more.
Yes, which is why we have one loss. It's the number one equivalent to wins and losses is winning the turnover battle.
All right. You got some players to watch for us?
Yeah, I want to see Elijah Judy continue to build off of his big game from last week. Can he continue to take the next step? Also, Cam Leonard, can he continue to – he's been a little quiet at the beginning part of this year. He had the big sack to call game, which was fantastic, but I'd like to see him be more of a contributor week in and week out. And, on the offensive side – I think we're really going to need guys like Key and Hunter this week. I think those two guys really need to have big games, like I said, with the screens and their catchability in traffic and to break runs. We need them to have a lot of yak yards this week because we don't want to sit back there and hold on and pat this ball and throw it way down the field. It's going to be more about getting the balls out of their hands. And so those receivers, the bigger body receivers more specifically, need to show up in a big way this week.
All right, coming up next week, it'll be a short week, and we're going. Would you consider Minnesota like your third home?
Yeah, I think it's probably my third home.
But you love going back to Minnesota.
I do. I love Minneapolis. I love Minnesota. I mean, it's a fun place to play. So, yeah, quick turnaround this week, Friday night game. So, yeah, handle business in Maryland, get home, get rested up, and get ready for the short week.
All right, good stuff. As always, he's Jeremiah Sirles. I'm Jessica Coody. This has been the Sideline Slice presented by Valentino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Huskers. We'll be back again next week to break it all down for you and to preview Minnesota.
Go Big Red.
Valentino's treasured Italian family recipes have been passed down for generations and still locally owned and operated. Valentino's proudly serving Nebraskans in Memorial Stadium for over 30 years.